What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Sound Design channel. My name is La, and today we're going to make some basic sounds. We're going to make a basic pluck within Wavetable. So this is just to give you guys some fundamentals if you're new to sound design and you don't really know where to start. So what you kind of need to know for sound design, I think, is to know how to make a pluck, how to make a bass, how to make a pad, and then potentially how to make kind of some effects, so some transition effects, white noise effects and stuff like that. And so what we're going to do today is start with a pluck, and then the next video we'll do a bass, and then so on and so forth, right? So I have some stuff set up just to get us started. I just have a drum groove, so it's just a top loop from the PML and Bemboma pack, so this one here. And then we got a kick at the top. Right, just really simple, and it just gives us a kind of like point of reference to go to, so we know what kind of like genre we're going for. And so what we're going to do for a pluck is we can just set it up here. So this can be like a lead melody, it can be a simple pluck, it could be something like just like this. Right, it could just be something like that, repeating all the way through, or it could be your arpeggio like this. Oh. And then just copying that over. You know, there's many possibilities of where you can go with a pluck, but the main principle needs to be there, so that kind of that shape. And so what we're going to do is we're going to we'll do an arpeggiator, but we can do like kind of like a funky one. So right now we're in the A minor pentatonic scale. So it's just like all the white notes essentially, but we're missing off a few of the other notes to make it a bit more of a stable scale, I guess, or a bit more of a safer scale. So what we're going to do is going to start on the tonic, so the A here. Maybe we go to the E, which is the 5th, and then we can go, instead of going to the C here, we can go C up here. And maybe bring that down. We can actually bring the whole sound down a bit. Yeah. And then we'll go da-da-da. And then maybe go to the G, and then we can just copy this over. So rather than copying it here directly as a normal arpeggiator, we'll do that kind of polymetric pattern. So we're copying it over, we skip 2 and then we copy over, and then it's going to do this kind of, so they start on a different point. Eventually it will end back in the right place. Just copy here. And you can kind of end this one a bit different. Take off the last one. Maybe do it like this. What you could do also is maybe leave this out away, so we'll see if it resets better that way. And then leave this gap here. So yeah, we can just copy it from here instead. Do like that. And that way it's kind of resetting itself nicely. All right, cool. So we have our basic melody. And now let's go over here. We'll just reset Wavetable. So we're going to be using a sine wave here. So that's the default sound of Wavetable, right? So all that is just a sine wave going through an open cutoff filter with a kind of quick attack, but a fair bit of sustain. So it's kind of like this kind of a pluck, but the notes are being held down quite a bit, so they're not quite sharp or plucky enough, I would say. So what we need to do is just kind of change this amp envelope until we get the kind of shape that we want. So I would say we just bring the sustain down. And there we go, it's pretty much there. We just add a bit more release. Very nice. And then now we can add a little bit more character. So we just add a second envelope here. A second oscillator. And the second oscillator can be a little bit more interesting than a sine wave. We can add a triangle. Maybe a square. And then bring the volume down on that. And now you can hear that it's adding all these extra harmonics and all this kind of like grit to the sound and buzziness to the sound, which is probably not what you want. It might be, but maybe later on in the track or whatever you're making. And so what we want to do is just to control that amount, really. So we just bring the frequency cutoff down. Just so we can hear this kind of fundamental again. And then we're going to allow for some of that buzziness to come through, but just a little burst of it. So we just have this envelope 2, which is here, and we're going to modulate this cutoff filter with envelope 2. And you can see envelope 2 is this kind of shape here, so we still have this quick attack, quite similar to amp 1, but now we need to bring down the sustain, so it's quite similar. Yeah, there's nice. We can add a little bit more interest if we just add an LFO2 to the cutoff filter as well. So LFO1 or 2, it doesn't really matter. We use LFO1. And we want to make the timing of this quite slow. So you can almost make it random if you want. So it's going to randomly move between these waveforms, and that's just going to give a little bit of added interest, but we only want a quite subtle amount of that. I think I'll change this from a square. Let's go to a saw. There we go, that's nice. Alright, cool. So now let's add some effects. So you can either put effects directly onto the channel like this, if you just get like a reverb and say a delay. Right, and that's all good pretty much, but I would say in my experience it's better to use these on a return channel. So we'll have a listen to these first. Sounds very nice and pretty, but the problem is that the original Pluck is now quite far in the background. You can hear like it just sounds like it's sitting in some kind of hallway or a chamber or something like that. And you don't really want that. I mean, you can remove a bit of the dry wet. And that's all good, it does sound nice, but you're going to get a bit more of a clearer signal if instead you just send it through on a return channel. So if we just bring the amount up here on this return channel, which is just the default things that you get within Ableton, if you don't have these, then you just need to set up like a bus on Logic. I'm not sure on Fruity Loops, but you set up a bus and then you put the reverb on here at 100% dry wet. So the wet is all the way over, and then on the delay is the same again. And yeah, just on the delay, I've offset the timing of it a little bit here and put it on ping pong, which is what you're going to hear in a second. So instead what we're doing, rather than putting the effect directly in the channel, we send it through here on the return. So let's bring this through. Add a bit of delay. Now you can hear that the signal is really clear. You can really hear it. And then you just mess around with the reverb however you want it to be. Maybe we bring this all the way up. Bring the pre-delay down a little bit. And that way, mixing wise, it's just going to be a lot better for you, especially later on when you have more things in the track. You want to be able to have a lot more of a clearer, drier signal coming through. Cool, so that is pretty much it for the sound. I hope that was helpful for you guys. Just a nice basic one for you today. And then the next one we're going to do bass within Wavetable, and then we'll and then we will cover a pad. So yeah, I hope this is helpful. If it was, let me know in the comments. Also leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any more of our content. Thank you very much, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.